we are recording for a very special topic, which is on women empowerment. But this topic is not about just how we empower women, but how women empower the strong people in our lives. So, what could be a better example but talk about the army behind our army, the army wives. So we have with us here today two very special guests. We have Mrs. Madhvi Shergill and Colonel Amitabh Shergill, who's joining us for this conversation. And we'll look into a bit of the examples that they shared with their lives, keeping in mind that this is not just about women empowerment, but how the strong women in our lives subtly influence us, work, profession, family, society, all the kind of roles, amalgamating them together to form one strong pillar.
Okay, so I'll start. So I'm Colonel Amitabh Shergill. I belong to Delhi. Been brought up here. Parents and family, everybody from Delhi. I studied out here. So my first foray out of Delhi was when I joined the army, and I had an army background, but I guess that was not the reason why I joined the army. Probably a lot to do with destiny. I was in the army for about 24 years before I took a premature release last year. So that's about a year back now. In fact, February 20 is when I left the army. And currently, I'm now joined the corporate sphere, as you call it. So I'm working with this company, if you would have heard of it, called Delhivery, which is a logistics, third-party logistics company in India. So I'm heading their operations in NCR currently in this role. Yeah, Madhvi.
Yeah. So I am a Fauji child through and through, with a very typical Fauji upbringing. My dad, we moved everywhere with him, and and I finished my graduation. Then I moved to Gurgaon, which is where my parents settled. That's when I started working. And back then, call centers were very big, so I started my career there. Gradually grew and moved into training, and then my last couple of years, I think over a decade now, has been with the retail sector and training and operations with the front staff, the retail staff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and that's been my journey. That's about me.
Madhvi ma'am, this whole today's discussion will be really centered around you, but we really want Amitabh sir to support the thing. So, how do you think? I mean, you were a Fauji child, you were definitely from the army background, but how smooth do you think is it like to balance like being a child and watching something and then adjusting to when you grow up with your profession and then adjusting with the army lifestyle, like how smooth is it or how not so smooth is it, like we see from the outside? How does it look like?
So as a child, it's great, it's fantastic. At least like when we were growing up, it was superb, because you had all these amazing privileges, and then you travel to all these lovely places, and you every 2 years, 1.5, 3 years, new friends, new school, new house, everything. And when you move to the other side, it's completely different. It's very, very different. And I mean, then you realize the challenges like what probably my mom faced. Yes. And how difficult it was, because she was also a working woman. She worked right through, and she was working in a bank, and somehow, given whom she was working with, she was able to manage transfers where my dad was. But later, like when we got married, and that's when I realized like it just must have been she had a lot to face and deal with.
So a lot of adjustment over there, because so sir, were you in actually one of the action corps thing where AD or infantry? So what was your corps like?
Yeah, so I was in the armored corps actually, and so I also had field postings.
Yes.
Like most of the people in the army have probably a little less than the infantry, where every 2 years you're in a field posting. So I had some good postings, instructional tenures as well.
So your family could travel with you there as well.
No, I mean, okay. So let me put it this way. So we had taken a call that she's not going to travel with me in all
Okay.
the postings, because otherwise it becomes very difficult. So
Right.
some of the postings wherein I was close by to, if you were to say Delhi, because the entire family was here. So let's say I was posted in a place like Hisar or a Patiala or an Ambala, which is a lot closer. So then it was more like the weekend visits which used to happen. Either she used to come over or I used to go down, or maybe once in 15, 20 days, depending on what kind of work commitments are there. Then I also had a tenure in Delhi, so obviously that was when we were together. And another tenure which I had in Maharashtra, in Ahmednagar, when I was in the Armored Core Center. So she had initially taken a transfer in that company which she was working for in Aurangabad, which was just about 100 kilometers from Ahmednagar. So for about 5 6 months, I think she did the up and down, and then she realized it's a bit too much. So then she quit that job at that point of time, and then stayed with me in Ahmednagar for about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how it's generally been. Particularly when I was commanding my regiment in Ambala as well as in Aknoor. So at that time, definitely, her contributions were a lot more, and she was, you know, coming and visiting a lot more often, because, as the commanding officer of a unit, you're the head of the organization, and
Yes.
the better half support is, all the more needed at that point of time, and she herself has a role to play at that time. So those are those challenges that we work through. But like I said, most of the time it was more of a weekend here and there which used to happen.
Right. So, Madhavi, ma'am, you tell me, like, how was your experience like? Because you were the one who was traveling back and forth, decided not to go at certain times because you had responsibilities on your professional end. So how does that balancing look like? What do you think? Not just think. I mean, what do you see were actually the kind of skills that you honed yourself up with? From the challenges that you face. I mean, as a child it's great, but when you become a working person, a professional, it's a larger picture. So how do you look into all those nuances, and what were the factors that you managed, and how? Please tell us something about that.
So, I mean, it wasn't very easy, but what was great for me was that the places where I worked, I had some bosses who were very understanding, and so very often, like he shared, if he was in a Patiala or something, so they would very conveniently send me for all the field, work and travel to Punjab, and they say, okay, you go and spend time with him because we know you're not staying together, and uh, but then work is work, like that you had to, like, that's why I'm traveling, so that could never be compromised. So it didn't matter how tired you were from the travel, and so I would always have this thing, like I wasn't getting enough time with him, or didn't get enough time. But yeah, I think, and the reason, like when he shared that when I moved to Aurangabad, that was also thanks to one of my vice presidents back then, a lady, and she was very nice. And so initially she was wanting me to move to Bombay, and then we met in between, and she said, isn't your husband in Ahmednagar, so why do you want to move to Bombay?
Mm-hmm.
And Nagar is Aurangabad's closer, so you'll get more time, and I think that's where you should move. So she was that way very gracious. And but again, it was
Not.
very difficult because every weekend I had to travel at least like 5 hours to get to him back, or get home and back. And eventually, yeah, it took a toll. I mean, and I would just really miss home, being with him, and we had a dog, so that added to it. So I said, this is really unfair, and so I took the decision. I said, now maybe I should just take a break, and yeah, and just kind of be at home and spend some time. So those were, yeah, I mean, it was difficult, but sure, it was fun, and the weekend visits and meeting up, and also it was, yeah, that was good. But yeah, and I think like on the work front, it was it didn't, because it didn't impact, so people were still happy, like work performance was never an issue. So yeah, I think one managed through that.
So
Yes. pretty
So
well.
work performances did not get hampered, which was great. But what was going on around you? So how much of energy were you actually pouring in? Because 5 hours of travel and work, and then of course balancing
Yeah.
family. And I heard you had a lady boss. So again, another woman, supporting
Yes.
your situation.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so what were these things that you experienced within you? Because I see you are really putting it up with a smile, and it was okay. Deliverables were fine, but I want to actually understand your experience and how you would, train your mind or tell your mind, like,
Yeah.
let's
So,
prioritize this
there was
over
a lot of
that.
anxiety because my thing was that, I wanted to get time at home. And how do you do it? Like, you have to get out early, and then, sometimes you end up taking favors like, please, I need to go home early. And there were times I got sick. I really would get sick. And the worst was when I had to come back to Aurangabad. And that, like, my Monday blues would start like sometime on Sunday afternoon. And I would go to this phase of, oh my God, I have to catch a bus and I have to go tomorrow. And for the longest time, like, they say like you have this trauma, you associate certain sounds with certain things. And
Yes.
that's sort of what happened with me, because every time I would hear that bus horn and I would think, oh my God, I have to board a bus, even if I didn't have to. So that's something that still stayed with me. And, you know, I actually would end up getting sick, like physically sick also. I would be unwell. And so, I'd like reach office and not in the best frame of mind. You didn't want to be there.
Hmm.
So, but then, what do you do? So, yeah. So that was it. Later, subsequently, it got easier because when he was in Ambala, and then he moved to
Delhi.
Aknoor, and later. So the company I was working with, I had a work from home profile, which was great to say. Not really, because we were working like round the clock.
Yeah. Yes.
And but it was still easier because then I could work remotely. Like, it didn't really matter. I didn't have to be in Delhi. I could be
Travel. Yeah.
anywhere. Yeah. And so that way it was pretty good.
Right.
So
But then those things come up, like you're in the middle of a meeting and then suddenly something goes there. So your brain is
yes,
already, I have to go and cook
yes,
something there in the kitchen. Yeah. So
yes,
I think everyone got a taste of that in 2020 when they were working
yes,
from
yes,
home. So the challenges. So yes,
yes.
I can understand. So yeah, I can feel that way. So what changes did you see in yourself over the period of time? Like, what personality changes did you see in yourself over the period of time?
I think for that time, like when I quit working in 2009, uh, like I just realized, I think when you're younger, you also tend to think like, nay, nay, calm hair, and, work's very important. And so then your priorities gradually change. Like, no, I need to spend some time with me, and I need like some home time. And so that for one. Also, then, the kind of work that you're looking for, that's something that doesn't burn you out. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
enjoy your work, but then you are able to, like, it gives you the flexibility to, manage. So those for sure,
Yeah.
somewhere the priority shift. And that, of course, yeah, happened. So yeah. And
Right.
yeah.
So that posting was followed by the Delhi posting. So then it was, then you had that continuous time together. And so yeah, that's when we also had our daughter at that time.
Right. So tell us something about how you met each other and how did this love story bloom? And then the realities dawn upon when you get married and start living together or staying apart, either ways.
So who do you want should take that question, Madhvi or me?
Either ways. Either ways.
So
But you
okay, I'll
both
go.
have different versions to share from experiences
No,
No,
and
no.
no, 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 not at all. So I had just finished my class 12 exams, and I was on a holiday in Vienna at my sister's, and he was on a course
I was in Pune.
in Pune. And so we connected online,
oh,
and yes, in a chat room.
Hmm.
So the starting didn't go off particularly well, but then anyway, we connected later, and then
so which
yeah,
year was this? Like, it was time of those era when there used to be Yahoo chat rooms and all. Is
Yeah,
that
exactly.
2000.
Exactly.
So this is
2000?
2000.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can
Yes.
imagine, I was here in Pune doing a course out here, and so this was a new thing which just started, the Yahoo chat and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, that's how everybody was passing time in those days. So she was,
Yeah.
in Vienna at that time, and we just got chatting, and so the connect of chat actually happened because of the army background,
Right.
though, and then yeah, I guess then we ended up meeting about a month after that. So,
Oh.
so
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's the time of those it was in those times when there used to be that external connection modem, so the
Yes.
patience
Oh
and
my God. And
perseverance. Yes,
the one
it
that took
might
forever.
connect, it might not connect. I mean, so
Yes.
how enduring is that love that you wait through those connections? So I think the generation these days have to learn, what we have
Yeah.
seen in those era. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So those were the connection thing, and it might connect, not connect. So
Mind connect.
and
Yes.
if it connects, great. Then your phone doesn't work. And if there's someone who calls, usko to गाली देने का मन करता था
Yes.
because that connection is then cut off.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
in fact, I was in a cyber cafe at that time when it happened. So there was a cyber cafe on the campus. So that's how the connect used to happen. There's hardly any other means to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So tell us something about experiences with cyber cafes because a lot of our audiences are so young. They
Yes.
don't know what used to be a cyber cafe. Like we used to actually go to a cafe filled with, just computers and those big chunky computers, not the flat screens.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so work on them and then wait for our turn if it was filled. And it was a tough life and
Right.
different world altogether. So
So yeah, in fact, it was, and to continue it further, it just so happened that around that time, say about 2 months after we had connected, is when I got posted to field, and I was to go to the valley on a posting, and so there was, in those days there was no mobile phone really to
yeah,
communicate. So you had those landlines, STD landline booths which were there in the units which are particularly there in field. So even that was a challenge because you will not believe we actually used to communicate via the radio set.
yeah,
So because I was in a field operation, so there was no radio, there was no telephone,
yeah,
and I was actually sitting in an operational area with the radio operator coming in saying to me, "कि sir, आपकी call है." And I
yeah.
was like, call hai? I thought must be some boss of mine must be calling on the radio side. He said, "नहीं, आपकी STD call hai."
नहीं boss ही है
And
in a different way.
so I said, STD call. So even I didn't know that you could take a call on the radio set. And she had booked a call because her dad used to be in signals.
No, that
Oh.
was from an STD booth outside my college.
So she had generally an
Okay.
idea of how to communicate,
How-
because Baba Fauji was set up high. So and then I had to, and it was like a one-way communication on the radio set. So I have to, till the time I said over, the conversation would not move to the next. So I had to say hello over, that kind of a thing. So that is the way conversation happened also out there. Yeah.
Yeah, so for our audience and readers who would be actually reading this article and probably also going through this video link, you will see how tough it was and how determined people can be and make things happen. So this is something we should all learn from. Like if you're truly determined and focused,
Yeah,
there's always a way out, and you can always think out of the box, like how Madhvi ma'am did. So booking a line through Signal's radio sets is really not something that anyone could imagine in this era. You could make a film out of that, actually. How people.
yeah.
So
So
that's
the base
exciting.
the base station used to be, where the headquarters was, and we were, spread out amongst different locations. So you had to connect to the base station and then further connect to the call. So you had an operator in between. So when he listened to the over from one side is when he switched the call to the other person. That's how it used to happen.
Okay, that's quite exciting. So how did you all how many years were you all together? I think it's been more than 2 decades, so more than 20 years now. So yes.
Yeah. So about 20 years, 20,
So what's
21
that?
years now almost.
What does that 20 years look like? So what was that journey? Of course, you didn't have to communicate over all these difficult means in the last decade, hopefully. So how does the transition feel like in your side? You still think that it's a lot of challenge when it comes to, now that you're in beyond the army life thing, where there are different locations not involved and you're in one place, but what were the challenges that you started with? We heard that, but what were the transition that came in with the technology thing that comes in, and how easy was it, or was there still some challenges based on the professional demands that still made it difficult for you to have free, easy communication every day? So what was it like?
So no, communication was not really an issue. Obviously, you had telephone connectivity. The earlier days, it was a lot on the STD booths, and thereafter mobile phones. So communication was not really an issue, other than, say, if you were in a field area, or if you were, when we used to move out on our training exercises, even if I was in a peacetime location. So every year we used to move out on training exercises. So you would be somewhere in the deserts or somewhere in Punjab, or depending on wherever you are moving for your training exercises. So we used to find a way somewhere or the other to communicate. So it was never really an issue. Earlier days, there used to be a lot of snail mail, which used to happen, which obviously you graduated from. I think all that writing of letters definitely stopped over since you were communicating so often. Remaining in touch and all was definitely not an issue, even though when you were in field areas, but maybe a little more sporadic. But I feel that probably in a way, it's I don't know how to put it, but yeah, it was a long distance relationship. Let me put it this way: that it has endured, its ups and downs, and I feel that we're in a good, strong place, probably because of that, because the relationship has remained fresh most of the time.
That's great. So I actually would like to enhance the discussion on this part, because you both were in very different locations, and so you were posted in places, even though you might be on field locations, but there were times you had to go for training exercises and all. Communication was not so easy where you could just pick up the phone and talk. So like what we have in these days. So uh, that balance of expectation and balance of adjustment. So can you tell us, ma'am, can you tell us something about that? Because that is something which is, I think it's a quality, it's a skill a lot of people need to learn now, because everything is so spontaneously available. People just want everything at the snap of their button and doesn't want to wait, so they want faster phones, faster connections, faster this, faster that, faster food services. Everything has to happen quick. I mean, if your pizza
Instant.
doesn't come in 20 minutes, you are suddenly angry. So people want everything in a very rapid mode. But at the time when you both were living a life and having family together, and then there were these situations that even if you are in a zone which does have connection, you may not be in a position. So how does
Yeah.
that, where you cannot talk every day, you just cannot pick up the phone or leave a message or something, making the effort to going taking that extra step to book a line through that radio set or something, or maybe even knowing that you are in a place where you do have tower network connection, but you cannot still talk. So what was that balance of expectations and adjustment like? I think that quality is something that it's very essential for our our readers and audience to know. And how much does, I would not just say a man, but how much a woman has to balance out from every side, because she is balancing everything. So can you help us some experiences from your side with that?
I think early on in the relationship, like he shared, right from those booking those calls, and there were times like when we were during like the time of the snail mail. So there was this one particular period, I think it was right in the beginning when we had just started seeing each other. And I think for over about 3 weeks or something, I didn't hear from him. And I had been writing letters after letters after letters, and I didn't hear back from him. And then suddenly, like after 3 weeks or something, and coincidentally it was Valentine's or something, and I got a letter from him and then explaining like, okay, something happened, and so I couldn't get in touch. And also I think having gone through things earlier in the relationship, it was still easier, even though like you said, that because technology is developed and you are everyone's contactable pretty much all of the time.
Yes.
Unless your phone's broken or it's switched off out of the battery or something like that. So but we did later have, like, there was a posting, I think, when he was in Amritsar, and there were times when he was phenomenally busy, and we would just probably exchange a message or so in the day, maybe one every 2 days or something. uh, so it's frustrating, but you're still able to deal with it, that okay, fine, he's got work and it's okay. And then there are times like when I'm been busy, on calls and working like through the night. So yeah.
I'm
So
sure it is. I'm sure it is a challenge, to be honest. Probably at times when you feel the need to speak to somebody, and you're not able to because the other person is not available. So I guess
Right.
that kind of challenge has remained on both sides.
Yeah. So because there's a lot of emotional need also when you are connecting with your family, like you just want to talk. But sometimes
Yeah.
I'm sure there were challenges that you wouldn't be able to talk at that point of time. So how do you, instead of, a lot of times we see people who get frustrated, get mad, like, oh, why is that person not available for me when I need them? That's how a lot of people react. So how do you keep yourself calm, busy, engaged? So what were the things that you did to keep your mind off, just to pass off that time until the next time they are available and you both can talk?
for me, I mean, my work kept me very, very busy. And in 2012 is when we'd had our daughter. So I had my hands pretty full because I had her to take care of, and then of course my work. So I was traveling also for work. So there was a lot going on. And I think more than anything else, right? Like if he's busy because of his work.
Yes,
And as a working person myself, I think you should just have to be able to put yourself in the other person's shoes and
right.
know, like, I also have work, I can also get busy, so it's okay. So I think it's a basic thought process. and,
Right.
and so that's not really rocket science. And so yeah, just that. And of course, I mean, busy. And then I took up certain activities. I got into something like CrossFit, and that was also something that I thoroughly enjoyed, and that also took some part of my time away.
That's great. So tell us
So
something,
yeah.
what were the good feelings that you were having when you engaged with something different, like a CrossFit or something? So what were those hobbies that kept you feeling
Oh,
better about yourself?
that was absolutely fantastic. That's by far the best experience I have ever had, and probably the best thing I ever did for myself. I'm not a very sporty person by nature, but that form of activity had me doing things I'd never imagined I'd do in my life, participating in competitions, doing really heavy weightlifting and so many other very athletic activities. So, and that just kind of changed my mindset also, on the work front and on the personal front. So, yeah,
Can
then
you share an
unfortunately, because
example, like how it changed, like something you did differently after you engaged in something completely different, like CrossFit, but it
yeah.
actually impacted your work, your thinking, and
Yes, because when you challenge yourself to do something, you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone.
yeah,
We like with creatures of habit, so you just, and you limit yourself. Nahi, this is aata hai, okay. But when you push and somebody pushes you, when you start exploring, okay, I can do this, so you obviously tend to feel more confident, and with that also comes a sense of like happiness. So, and then you're more at peace as well. So all of that was probably the best phase I
right,
remember.
right.
So yeah, that was great. That was absolutely great.
Right. I can
Yeah.
totally agree on that because I remember just about a week before my 30th birthday, long time ago, almost 10 years back. So I suddenly realized I was growing old and I said, I can't grow old so fast. So I was like, okay, let's do something, completely different. And I suddenly decided to sign up for this 350 feet rappelling thing, and I had never done that before. And I actually went with a team of pro people who had jumped off, places. And I went, I did, and I was so good. People actually asked me how. So what were the other courses you did before? I said I've never done that. But that experience, I mean, I had immense fear of heights, but that experience just broke my fear of heights. And I
Yeah.
remember I tried so many other things. I could not even dip my feet in the swimming pool because I was afraid, but I actually tried swimming. So I can't swim in the ocean, but I actually can swim now in the pool. So yes, overcoming fear,
Yeah.
I think, has been just by breaking the barriers of the comfort zone. There's so much we could
Yes.
just do from that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that is certainly there. So, Amitabh sir, you tell me something that you noticed in her different after she started doing CrossFit, or was she trying a bit of that on you
No, well, made me, she was tried her best that I should also join
Yeah.
it. But, I've always been into sport somehow or the other. I've been playing something, well before I joined the army also, and
too?
thereafter later also. But CrossFit was not something which I personally was very keen on, to be very honest,
Mentally.
because it didn't, I've had a couple of injuries also. So I was not too keen to take that on because it's a particular form of exercise. So, but as far as she was concerned, yeah, I could make out that the kind of joy and happiness that she got out of achieving something, and the confidence levels definitely increased. Because there were quite a few occasions earlier as well where she tried to get into the fitness or try to do some kind of workouts or work with a trainer, but somehow it didn't carry on for very long. It was like a passing phase and just finished. But here was something which is something which she used to really look forward to, and it was like a planned event. And post stopping it for a while, and now she's restarted it again. You could see a person change in terms of confidence and being able to take on a lot more than probably she would have in say maybe if she hadn't gone through something like that, or rather challenged herself, let me put it that way, because she'd always seen me, being very physically conscious about fitness and everything, and did not really identify with it, to be honest, in the earlier stages. But once she went through it, that's when she realized, something to be passionate about, what comes from it, and thereafter, it just carried it forward, as I said, as a more confident person.
Yeah, so I think what we can understand here is that the journeys could be different, but it's like what works for you works for you. So everyone
Yeah,
doesn't fit in everyone's shoes. So
Yeah.
exactly.
work for the rest of my family or my, next best person may not just always work for me. So to be able to see the uniqueness about us and appreciate that and celebrate that, that I'm different and I'm differently great. So because I'm doing great the way I am, and I'm a better version of myself because I can still be different. So I think that's what we could learn from what you shared from your experiences. So
Yeah.
what hobbies or what kind of activities do you both defining the fact that you both had different places and different, not so different backgrounds, but different life experiences when it comes with your professional challenges? But what, and of course exercises were different for you both. What were the things
Mhm.
that you really enjoy doing together?
Board games.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have like really enjoyed. So that was one of the first things after we got married, and I went out and I bought a whole set of board games, right from your Monopoly and your Scrabble and all. And of course, Scrabble, my motivation was to beat him, which I succeeded.
Mhm.
Very happy about that. And another thing is reading. I mean, I read more than him, but yeah, because he also enjoys reading.
Okay.
So that was again something that yeah.
What
Yeah,
kind of
so
reads do you love the most? Is it fiction, non-fiction, novels, short
I'm
stories?
I'm more of a fiction person. Yeah, she reads. She has a wider scope of what she
Yeah,
reads. But
yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
I have like a mini library which I'm very very proud of. So that it has a mix of everything.
Not very proud of, but very possessive.
Yes, I don't lend books.
No, your books are your most precious
Yes,
things. I can
absolutely.
relate to that. Yes, I can relate
Yeah.
completely. I remember asking for a book from my dad. So he had his library is filled. So he started piling them up on his windowsill. So, for
Mhm.
easy access and all. And then I asked him for a book, and he actually told this to me 4 to 5 times in a single minute. Be careful, be careful, be careful. So I said, yeah, I
Mhm.
know. I gifted you this book. I know it's something
Mhm.
precious. So
Mhm.
yes, I can relate to
Yeah.
that. So
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 yeah, and the other thing was like we like just the two of us to go out somewhere and just spend time with each other, whether it is just sit over a coffee or whatever it is. So as they call, hang out together.
yeah, so simple
uh,
things that still add the charm, right?
yeah.
So how did life look a little different, or time management look a little different with your daughter coming into your life?
So, he wasn't here when she was born. And so I'm at my parents' place. So initially, I think I mean, managed okay because I had my parents' support. And, but then he was in commanding the regiment at that time. And then we had a very important event coming up, and for which I had to be there. So that was challenging because she was really small. She was, I think, all of 2.5 months. Um, yeah. So, having to take care of her, but making sure that the event went off well and everything, preparations, everything was like perfection personified.
Yes.
So, yeah, that is what for him, yes, because I think him being away and then wanting to, come here, spending time, or even when I would go and visit him because he was so busy. So, yeah, I think.
So yeah, at that time, probably as a commanding officer, it's a huge demand on your time. It's a little different vis-a-vis, say, the corporate life, which now I'm looking at, because you're accountable to each one of your men at that time, and it's a huge demand on your time, and the buck stops at you.
Right.
So it's not only just the professional challenges in terms of the work commitment, but also personal challenges in terms of the people who are there that you're commanding. Each one of them has their own issues and problems, and
Yes.
which you have as a commanding officer need to take care of. It's not like in the corporate world, no one's bothered about whether what's happening in my end, at home or something on those lines. It doesn't impact the work as long as I'm doing my job. But out there, it's a very different setup altogether. 600 people that I have under me, they have various challenges. Somebody's had an issue, or is not able to give his best, is not able to function. Various human challenges, to be very honest. So it's very demanding on your time, no doubt about it. And say something, this event that she was talking about was about a 3-day event which happens once in 2 to 3 years. So to prepare for it, organize it, you're calling a lot of your ex people who were from the same regiment,
Regiment.
who are coming from pan India, organizing their visit, making sure that everything is organized. And she's like the first lady of the unit, so you're the head of the organization. She's the first lady. The buck stops at us. We are the hosts of the event, and fortunately, the daughter was not the fussy variety and not the crying variety. Thank God. So even at that age of 3.5 months, she was a very calm person who would rather just sleep it off, and we didn't have those sleepless nights, to be very honest, where you're up all night, those kind of things. I think we were very, very fortunate that didn't happen. And so yeah, so at that time, those were definitely challenging times, but I guess we worked through it because our grounding, to be very honest, like you said, in the earlier days and decades back, was what we learned from our parents. So today it's a challenge with the kid when they want
Yes.
everything instantly, but I guess we had that kind of grounding. We could adapt to it.
Right. So this question will be to you, especially now, about the fact that leading a regiment, leading a unit is certainly, like you said, is very different than leading a team in a corporate world. So there are changes. There are different ecosystems, as you see here and there. So what suggestions do you have for, especially the people who have had no idea of how Nexus, the Army Nexus works when it comes to, you have to get into not just work, but the people who are with you and their situations, and in the corporate, it's quite different. So what kind of suggestions do you have for leaders in different industries whatsoever? Like, we can learn from the military experiences. And I'm asking this because actually I have done when I was working with an IT in Cognizant, I actually had a cross-industry investigation study, joint best practice exchange with the army. So we had some army veterans who would come in and
Okay.
we had that. So because I see value in it, so I
Mhm.
would really like to take this opportunity to ask you, like, what kind of skills or what kind of mindsets or traits do you think that people should develop, to understand these nuances, these challenges, and be more adaptive and better leaders?
So I think the most important thing is to have a calm head and just not get head up about anything. It's not the end of the world, right? And patience. So this is, I think, two very very important things. Empathy, compassion for the person who's working under you. Definitely, as a leader, it's not all about running roughshod over somebody just because you're in a particular position. Because at the end of the day, we've all come through the system. I was also a second lieutenant at some point in time. We learn through our experiences. I've had bosses right from the time I got commissioned till the time I left the army, and obviously that's how the chain works. You've had some good bosses and not so good bosses, but I feel that the empathy and compassion, understanding a person where he comes from. I mean, take the time to do that. People don't, take the time to understand the nuances, or what makes a person, why a person is in a particular way. They're ready to judge somebody at the first instance, which I feel, with my experience, I feel if you're able to empathize with a person, if you're able to understand him better, you're able to get better work out of him. And the second thing, which another thing which I find very important, is to lead by example.
Yes,
you know
absolutely.
I personally, I mean, it's my personal opinion that if I am not good at something, or if I am not able to do something, I'm not going to tell my guy to do it. It's as simple as that. So that's what I have always followed. A very simple thing, as far as, say, even physical fitness was concerned. We have our various tests happening, and they are very age specific. So I used to make sure that I used to do it for my own self-respect. Nobody was forcing me when I had reached a certain seniority to do it. But the men who I was commanding knew that what I am demanding of them, I can do it myself. So there was never a protest, or there was never any grumpiness, or okay, he's just passing orders just because he's a senior guy.
Right.
But they knew it that I myself am able to do it. So, well, we jolly well do it. So it's as simple as that. So it makes it a lot easier. So I always believe in that if you have to lead by example, all your problems, just get 90% of them go away, and it's a lot easier to handle things. Yeah.
Yes, very true. So, what kind of Fauji traits did you bring into your corporate life, Madhvi ma'am? Tell me something on that, because there must be
Me?
something that
Oh,
comes in,
yeah,
being
yeah,
a Fauji daughter, Fauji wife, something must be coming in, slipping into this.
absolutely. So I think I'm most grateful for. I think I was very lucky, like being a Fauji's daughter, because I think back then, like I said, it was super fun. As a kid, I didn't like it at all because your cousins had a permanent home, everybody went to one school, and you had fixed friends. But in hindsight, I think I developed very good people skills, can
Yes.
adaptability, and you can talk to anyone, and then the confidence that one is able to, because you will see from the biggest towns to the smallest places, and you're dealing with all sorts of people. So that these were, and over the years I've been told quite a few times, acha acha, have to be a Fauji kid, yeah, you're like this, and Fauji kids are like this only. In fact, recently I met someone and they did say the same thing. Yeah, you talk to people very easily. This is a very typically Fauji thing. So yeah, these for sure, like adaptability, people skills, and yeah. So yes,
Share some tips with
different. Yeah.
those who are not the kind of backgrounds that you are, but they need these skills. So share some of these skills and tips that you should, with, rising leaders and rising, professionals. What kind of skills and things should they hone up on to be a little better than who they are today?
I think people skills, because see, we're not machines. We always work with people, and it's all about the people. See, we are going to have to work together. You will have to get either someone's delegating work to you, or you're delegating to somebody. You're working with someone. The better you're with people, the better you'll be able to work. The better work will happen, and happy people make happy organizations. So it's all about how you deal with people. And like, I agree with a lot of what he said, that your empathy and just being able to put yourself in another person's shoes, just take the time to understand. And people shouldn't be like so short tempered that काम नहीं हुआ क्यों नहीं हुआ, and okay, so you're having a bad day, but like there could be a reason. So if I just took those 2 minutes to talk to you, you will appreciate it, and you'll probably go like an extra mile for me.
Yeah.
So it's very essential. Like, I think people skills is really important. Just take the time to understand your people.
Yeah.
And, I think
Sorry, so you're not being very audible. Can you repeat?
Yeah, I said professional competence. So I think that's very important. A lot of things, if you are good at your job, a lot of these things will automatically start flowing. You yourself will be more confident.
Yes.
Somebody who's underconfident is someone who doesn't know his job, to be very honest.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
besides, say, individual traits, of somebody being an introvert or something, that's a different matter. But if you're, if you know your job and you're very good at it, you'll automatically be more outgoing, more confident. You'll be able to deal with people a lot better.
Right. True. I some time ago I wrote an article on competence and compassion and the balancing of it that makes a better leader. So yes, I hear that, and it's been so linked together. So yes, I understand what you're saying. That's important. So that's true. That's really true. So anything else that you would like to share with us today, which you think is going to be very insightful for people to know about the women and the army behind the army, the thing that they have done, and something maybe from message from you about this wonderful person in your life who has made it strong by being the strong pillar in it.
So I think women in the army don't have it easy. They don't. And I was very fortunate, like you said, we took a decision that where I would, because I was working and I continued to work. I did take a break when I could, but I was very clear that like I was going to work. And women make those decisions where they decide to stay on, give up their careers, to be with the husband because he needs that support, and to raise the children. I think we could do a little bit more appreciation for them, and understand that they have also really great skills, and I think just general appreciation for that. A lot of women who they sacrifice so much.
Yes, and
just for the man.
Yeah, it's not just always in the army, it's everywhere. So it happens
everywhere. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just also to accept the fact that everyone is going through a change, and let's accept everyone's not perfect, and things are not likely to be perfect, but just how comfortable kind of things we made. Yes, so definitely that. So any final lines of inspiring lines for our audience readers before we stop the record and just continue with the little chats?
So I mean, I'll be very honest. It's been a great journey of the last 2 decades. From the time we met. So I can say that right from the time I was a youngster in the army. So almost throughout we've been together. She, a woman plays a very, very important role, in supporting a lot of tough times. As you're aware that the army life is a tough life. I wouldn't change it. Definitely at times you felt that, I wish she was here with me, and as, at times, but it also made you tougher as a person, that, you're able to handle certain challenges on your own. But she has always stood like a rock behind me. Whenever I have needed, she's always been able to stand up, at the most critical of times. We've had some operational situations where, to be very honest, you don't feel like being alone at that point of time. And she's been there. To be very honest, and I've always been grateful for that. And I think, like you said, the army behind the army is a fact. It's true. Without that, it doesn't work. And you can keep saying that we can do it all by ourselves. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen at all. So yeah, so we must cherish what we have. I think definitely, and
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So a lot of
in a similar situation.
yeah. So a lot of wonderful, insightful shares and great things to hear, both personally and professionally. A lot of things to learn. So we would be stopping our recording right here because we're going to catch up with a little more teeth to teeth here. So I'm going
Okay.
to stop recording, and thank you so much.